masters of speed. This is Formula One.
Hello there, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So, another setup video then. We got the wet setup at Japan, Suzuka. Hope you guys are good, hope you guys are well. Let's get into it. So, if you saw the Australia setup yesterday, the wet one, Inter's or wet setup, I ran through various different things on what I changed to get the setup right, get the setup working. And yeah, we're going to do exactly the same thing again. So, this is what I've gone with. I've gone with 40 on the front and 30 on the rear. Right now, this is set up for an intermediate weather condition car. Basically, if you look at the dry Japan setup, this is what I've done. I've gone +2 on both wings for the Inters, and if it was a wet race, I would go +4. So, I've gone up 2 on the front wing for Inters, up 2 on the rear wing for Inters, and then obviously if it was a wet race, I would go up another 2. Same for quali, I would do exactly the same thing. If it was a wet quali or Inters or wet quali, I would do exactly the same thing. And then obviously if it was a dry race and part firmware was off, I would then just revert back to the original setup. So for the sake of this Inter setup, I've gone with 40 on the front and 30 on the rear. On the transmission, and the only thing I have changed on the transmission from the dry setup is is 35 on the front diff. The reason why I've gone so low on the front diff compared to the dry setup is that the diff on helps with traction. The lower you go on traction, the lower you go on the diff, the better your traction is. And obviously with it being Inters or wet condition, traction is at a premium. If you guys run traction control, this does not bother you. You don't need to worry about it. So I'm just obviously talking to assist users. I run 0 assists, so this is extremely important for me. But yeah, I've gone with 35% on diff. If you feel that you are still wheel spinning quite a lot, take it down. Wouldn't recommend going any lower than 25, but for the sake of this setup, I've gone with 35 on, 50 off, and 100% engine braking. Even though you are technically slower in the wet, and your battery recharges, it still recharges at a finite amount, and you want maximum recharge obviously to help you, especially down that long back straight from spoon to 130R, and then obviously the start finish straight. The more battery you've got, the better, and obviously faster you can go. On the suspension geometry then, and I've changed zilch because it's left 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 on the suspension, and I've gone and changed 3 things. And yeah, I've kept the suspension, front and rear, exactly the same. I've gone with the front anti-roll bar of 12. I've dropped it down 3. And on the rear anti-roll bar, I've gone with 5. And again, I've dropped that down by 3. And I've raised the front ride height by 3. And I would run this even if it was a wet setup. I would not make any changes other than the 3 changes I just mentioned, which was the front anti-roll bar, the rear anti-roll bar, and the front ride height. The reason why I make those changes is simple. You don't need the car as stiff in the wet, so roll bars will stay the same. Or obviously roll bars will come down a little bit. You need the car a lot more supple then, if you like. And then the reason why I've increased the front ride height is because if there are any puddles that form on the circuit, you do not want to be aquaplaning through those. It's like as if you bottom up the car, and yeah, that is the reason why I've increased the front ride height. Plus, it adds a little bit more drag, slows the car down a lot more, and it just makes everything easier. Onto the brakes then, and I've kept the brake pressures exactly the same, kept the front brake bias exactly the same. And again, this only applies to ABS off users. If you run 0 assists, if you run assists, like brake, ABS braking, again, this doesn't apply to you guys, so don't need to worry about it. And then finally, and lastly, the tires. And yeah, I've not changed the tires either. So going back through the setup, press the wrong button, obviously. I've changed the wings, for inter setup, up by 2. Wet setup, up by 4. If you need more, add more. I changed the on diff down, and I changed 3 things in the suspension, which was down by 3, down by 3, up by 3. And then, yeah, everything else has been the same. This has been Japan. I really hope it helps. I love reading all the comments, and a massive shout out to all the new members and everything that has joined. Like I said, as soon as there are an handling update or a new patch or anything else, I will be updating all the setups and putting them on my members page. And yeah, hope it helps. I really do. I love absolutely reading your comments, guys. I really do. Do all that good stuff. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and just a massive thanks. Really, really appreciate it. You take care. Peace.